Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with Healing You. I'm wondering if your body has been picking up on all the intensity that's running through our collective society now, through the collective culture of the whole world. Oh, and I wonder, does it feel some exhaustion? Does it get tired? Maybe there's irritation and frustration that come up because what's happening isn't working for the human beings, for the world. Or maybe you get scared, really scared around what's happening and the lack of compassion between human beings. People forgetting that we're a human race and we all belong to the same race. And there's a lot of division that's being leveraged in our world right now. And what's it like for you when you get really tired? Or you get frustrated? Or you get scared? What happens in your system? Well, I want to acknowledge that for many of us who have experienced trauma in our past, those intense energies can trigger a cascade of automaticity, automatic reactions within us that are not intentional at all. In fact, they're learned behavior and they're very unconscious. And what it can do is it can shift us left, which for me, that's like you're going into your left hemisphere, which is more analytical, judgmental, pragmatic, and non-relational. It's all about the facts. And when I shift left, what I'm doing that's the most harmful is I'm leaving the relationship with my own sense of self. And I want to be able to stay anchored and rooted in my sense of being and invite my left hemisphere to come forward and be in service of my right hemisphere, which is very relational. And it's through this part of ourself where our body's wisdom comes up through our gut and our heart and our lungs. 90% of all information comes up from the body in service of the wholeness that we are. Only about 10% comes back down from the mind to the body. And so when the mind's in service of the body, we can have a sense of harmony. We can have a sense of being centered and grounded in what we value. And then we can be in full choice. So when we've had trauma in our background, that capacity might not be so available, especially when it's triggered unconsciously. And then we can just find ourselves in this state of being non-relational. We can be really irritated with other people. We just want to be by ourselves. We isolate, and it's actually self-sabotaging behavior. And yet I want to acknowledge that when we go into that kind of a pattern, we're doing the best we can to protect ourselves and to survive something that most likely felt unsurvivable. And so what's really important is to be able to begin to have relationships of trust that when you get triggered and you feel tired or you feel frustrated or you feel scared, you have a place you can reach out and you can trust you'll be met right where you are without being made wrong. Because that's been the pattern for many of us who've had trauma. And we repeatedly show up in some way that others make wrong, like knock it off, why don't you just get over it? Get on with your life. But there's a lack of compassionate understanding in those messages. And they just don't know how to respond differently. So in that moment of feeling the exhaustion or the irritation or the fear, to be met there by another being that sits with you and that understands and gets you, and just acknowledges what it's like to be you in that moment. That is just amazing. But like, no wonder this has come up for you, and an acknowledgement of the pattern in your life. So of course this is going to happen, because this part of you has never been met in this way before. Maybe this part doesn't even know it's possible. But when you get met in this way, your whole sense of self, you'll feel your shoulders drop, your breath deepen, you might yawn and release. And oh, it just is so amazing for the system that was on high alert to begin to relax into being. That's where the healing happens, at a cellular level. Acknowledging the compliance that you were conditioned to, the automaticity, that it makes sense. And when that part begins to make sense, it gets to relax and integrate into the wholeness that we are. I want to acknowledge that for some of us, that part that instantaneously leaves the relationship, it leaves it first because it wants to abandon the pain of being abandoned. It wants to avoid the pain of being abandoned. Because that abandonment, that lost, alarmed aloneness, is too much for our younger parts to hold on their own. And that's why we need accompaniment. It's why we need to be met right where we are and how it feels to be us, so we can begin to come back into connection with our heart energy. So a practice that I invite you to explore with me is, what's it like to just drop into your body, into your heart, and even imagining breathing in and out of your heart space. When you can really come into your center in this way, it balances all of your energies from above and from below. And when we can come into that space with compassionate understanding, that's where we can begin to reach out to others. And we first need to meet ourselves there. And that's much easierly done when we have accompaniment. Our spirit lives within our heart, and that's what empowers our being. We can come into that still, calm, soft, slow space and be energized. If you'd like to learn more about this or have a chat with me, reach out to me at healingyoursanctuary.com. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing you.